Okay. This is my third time recording this video because the first time I recorded this video, I was wrong about something that I said, and I wanted to correct myself. And I didn't find out that I was wrong until after editing and getting ready to post the video. So I just recorded the second one just for me to look and find out that my second video wasn't even recorded. It only recorded the ending of the second video. So, bear with me, please, as I explain this for the third time. Okay, so here's what I was wrong about in the first recording. I thought that the two lines in my variables were associated with Cave's environment, but I found out that I was wrong. So I made the second video explaining why the two lines were still correct with the analogy that I was making, but wrong in how I was connecting the dots. Okay? Okay. The analogy I was making, well, it wasn't even an analogy, it was more so like a conclusion. So, for the past 4 years, I've been trying to figure out why I was a quote unquote failure of a six line right there, because I was introduced to human design in 2021, and the entire time I kept hearing stories of how six lines needed to be out and about, living life, experimenting, and doing all of this trialing and erroring, living their life to the fullest for the first 30 years before they retreat to the roof after 30. And I was feeling like a failure of a six line because I believed that I wasn't living my first 30 years properly, because I wasn't out and about. I wasn't going outside and experimenting with life like all the other six lines I was seeing, until I started learning about my variables last week and the week before. And that's when I noticed the two lines. And my mind associated the two line wrongfully with caves. And I found out earlier, after editing the video, that the caves is associated with the one line. Now, I know you're just like, Ollie, you do have one lines on your personality variables. You're right. You're absolutely right. But I don't know anything about those particular lines just yet. I'm still learning. So we're going to just talk about the big line, well, the big numbers, okay? Okay. I'm not trying to be upset. I'm not upset. It's just, I just literally recorded this 20 minutes ago. So, yeah, I'm not mad. Don't worry. I'm not recording this again out of frustration. I'm not frustrated. All right? I'm not frustrated. I'm just trying to get this out as quickly as I can. Third time's a charm. As you can see, this is pretty empty over here. So, yeah, the more I talk about something, the easier it comes out. So, the two line, let me tell you, what I just recently discovered. And by recently, I mean within the last 20 minutes. So, I have this book by Rachel Liberman called A Modern a Modern Guide to Human Design, and I something just randomly told me as I was finalizing my edits to the original recording to fact check myself with her book. And that's what made me realize I was wrong because the book told me I was wrong. And so I was like, why did my subconscious tell me that the two line was the reason why I was a recluse six line for the past 10 years of my life since 2014? We'll talk about that in a sec. It's because the two line is the hermit. And in her book, she has little keywords, and I will read them right now: solitude, discernment, humility, innocence, awaiting the call, nerding out, natural gifts, magnetism, harmony, and sacred space. All of those aligned perfectly with what I associated with the caves environment wrongfully. Wrongfully so. And I want to read a couple things from her two line passages that she has in the book. People with second lines can be solitary and discerning, preferring to spend time in their sacred space doing, learning, and creating. But of course, you also have another line in your profile that determines how you connect with others, so it's not as if you are ever totally closed off. After all, you can never entirely shut out the world, even if you want to. The energetics of this profile always leave a small opening for the others to watch them doing their thing. And the next thing that I want to read is the very last line of this section. It says, "You don't have to leave your hermit den unless it feels aligned." And so here's why I wanted to read those things, because the whole purpose of me trying to figure out why I've been a recluse is because back in 2014, when I left public school and started homeschooling, I completely secluded myself and I completely like shut out the outside world. My social life died out almost immediately. I lost touch of all of my peers. I had I stayed in touch with like two of my friends, but I wasn't talking to them as much or seeing them as much. I never left the house as much, and I went from being a very interactive four line to being a secluded six line. And I um, also started my almost immediately after shutting myself off from the world, I started my spiritual journey. It aligned perfectly, and I went on a 11-year long deep trial and error spiritually, and I learned so much about myself. I've healed so many wounds. I've had so many ego deaths. I've started and ended so many different creativities, and I've touched so many different creative fields. I've learned so many things. I've gained so many new skills, so much insight. I went through an entire trial and error process just at home and internally. And I wasn't able to see it as that because whenever you hear people typically talk about six lines experimenting with life, for the first 30 years, they're always referring to them going out and being a part of society. They never talk about the six lines that are experimenting with life internally or in a more secluded way. And that's what my sixth line has been trialing and erroring with and gaining wisdom through for the past 11 years. I've been on a more internal hermit style trialing and error process. And I felt like finding out the two line variables and making that connection with the hermit and my sixth line, it made me feel so much more validated and better about myself because for a long time, like since discovering human design, I felt like a failure as a sixth line. And now I know that I'm not a failure at all because I've had my life experience just a little bit differently compared to the other six lines that I was seeing and hearing and learning from. And so, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that thought process and I wanted to share that little insight, you know, because I have almost 3 years left of my my temporary three line trialing and erroring process. And I wanted to go ahead and start opening myself back up to the world before I go into my 30s and start ascending up into that roof. So I wanted to go ahead and start doing that now. And I felt ready. Like now feels like the perfect time for me to do so. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know for a fact that I missed a lot of the points and a lot of the things that I said in the first two recordings, but as you can see in my chart right here, all of this right here is just open and unconnected. And so once I say stuff and once I have my insights out, they kind of stay out, they don't come back. And so if I said something amazing in the other videos that I didn't say in this one, I guess it just wasn't meant to be put out there. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something if you needed to, and if you already knew, I hope you are able to follow along with everything that I shared in this recording. And if there's anything that you would like for me to know, or if there's anything that you would like to add on to this interpretation or insight that I've developed, um, feel free to go into the comments and share with me as well as the other people watching this video. And if you know there's anything you want to touch on, or if there's anything you want for me to look towards or look at or make a video on, I'm inviting you to share those ideas and that insight and information with me in the comment section. So, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And there is another video that I recorded after the first original recording of this video, and so that video will be after this one. So if you notice the time difference at the top of the screen, that's why. All right, bye bye.